Intriguing. Okay, so I was almost certain that you had to have 1,000 followers on TikTok to go live. And yet I've just explored different areas, and then it said, oh, you can go live. And I'm like, okay, well, let's give her a go. Hey, TikTok friends. I appreciate this app. I'm pretty new to it. I tried it back in like 2021 and just too much was going on. I couldn't handle working on another platform, but I have come back on TikTok and actually found really, really amazing creators that I have really come to appreciate their teachings and their sort of philosophical and or just life ideas, mainly hypervigilance and the Yeshwani. I am also super pro peace and have been for a really long time, most of my life, I guess. I'm a long time veggie and non-radical vegan, and by that I mean like I'll sometimes eat eggs. That's it. I don't do dairy or eggs. I don't do dairy or meat, but I'm currently broadcasting from Morocco. I do have a filter on because, like, let's be real, I think loads of people are using filters, and it's kind of like if you're not feeling your best or looking your best, it's quite interesting to put a filter on and just be like, hi. So yeah, my name is MJ, or Molly Jane. I have been working on this brand, running this brand since 2012. 2013, I started working on the website. I came up with the name with a really good friend of mine who I dated for a while. He's an amazing musician, and he published an EP called All to Love around the time that we were like falling in love and getting to know each other and talking about consciousness and law of attraction, all that stuff. And I was like, All to Love. All I knew is that I didn't want a website that used my name or even used yoga, because I'm a longtime yoga meditation teacher. And All to Love, I was like, that's the one, because like my compassionate heart has always just like felt the pain of the world and experienced deep alchemical transformation through a loving heart and like deep yearning for more peace and love and abundance for everybody on this planet. And it still continues. Even just a couple of days ago, I like broke down in a share of like, why God, why are people waging wars? And, you know, how are we going to unify and come together to step up for like Indigenous people and just all people, that all people deserve to be here, right? Oh, okay, so this is my first ever live, okay? Brand new doing live on TikTok. I don't even really know like how it works or what's happening. Mostly on this channel, I read tarot for people, and I'm currently in Morocco teaching yoga every morning. And then because there's such an international crew of people coming and going at the hostel, at the surf school, people are like, what do you do? And I'm like, I teach yoga, and I read tarot. I also do a therapy called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, but mostly it's the yoga and the tarot and the embodiment work. And I recently had a psychic reading, and the psychic was like, you're a quantum healer. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And I do sort of understand it, but really it's, I think, just a really earnest, loving heart. And I really appreciate Yeshwani's teachings because she really she resonates the truth to me, or like aspects of truth with regards to like the container of this existence is truly love. Unconditional love is super neutral because it's allowing for the tension and the contrast and the polarity, right? We all experience tension, and people might call it karma, but you know, to a certain degree, karma has a lot to do with how we're interpreting our reality. I wrote a book many years ago called The Fearless Life Guide, through my own like sort of deepening understanding of emotional alchemy, but later I came to understand that's basically how shadow work works. It's just feeling the depth of our emotional body and the understanding that the body itself clears. So with enough presence, when we're purging, when we're processing emotions, the cellular activity is actually like being released from our body. So when I started to endeavor deeper emotional alchemy, I recognized that certain less than desirable patterns were just like evaporating. Things that bothered me just didn't bother me anymore. Blaming and attacking started to just dissolve. Like I didn't have no desire to like blame other people for how I feel or attack people for how I feel at the same time. As I navigate being a director of a company and, you know, my own, I guess, empowerment, I'm also aware that sometimes if people try to push a boundary or if they try to like things like unsolicited advice or whatever, I'll sometimes put a boundary down. And somebody who's really kind and empathic and nice, I'm increasingly aware that like some types of people like to control that, or like they almost perceive kindness and emotionality and vulnerability as like a weakness, and so they'll kind of throw advice at you and you're like, whoa, what the hell are you doing? And so like, you know, actually take that back and put that boundary back. And some people don't want that, some people don't like that, and or it pushes back against their own maybe wounding and or their own like egoic, like, because in many ways, like when we're trying to control people or we're trying to control a reality, in my awareness, that's coming from separation. It's coming from a place of fear, right? Because we don't recognize the unification or the unified truth of our reality and our perception. I'm thinking of like A Course in Miracles. I sat and did like the whole workbook and everything like that of A Course in Miracles between 2012 and 2014. I'm pretty sure I was sort of wrapping it up by the beginning of 2015. And I'm thinking of like, in my defenselessness, my safety lies, and that truly, whatever we see outside of self isn't real. It's a perception of our own reality, which again is also connected to what we think of as karma. But to me, again, like it's all contained. And so we can like talk about these dualistic things, but in truth, we're all like feeling and living in this sort of unified expression. And that's why, especially in these really divisive and volatile times, regardless of where we are in the world, reclaiming our power has a lot to do with feeling and walking through the flame of our own pain, which is, to me, like pulling it into self to burn it up. Like, and that's the whole like ugly crying or but it's not when you go unconscious. You actually have to remain really conscious within the heart and your own presence to consciously burn through those layers or levels of distortions. And none of it's good or bad or right or wrong. It's just that, like, for me personally, it's all been about love and the fact that, like, the suffering on the planet, the suffering of the animals, the suffering of people that are living in poverty, obviously the suffering of people who are living in war-torn countries, this idea of other, like, that other humans are somehow separate from us, that is a wild distortion and very, very disempowered, even though the expression of that looks powerful because people have bombs and money and all that kind of shit, but it's actually a very base, low-level expression. And I'm somebody, like, early on in my spiritual awakenings, I just renounced materiality. I left home, got rid of all my stuff, and basically just, like, traveled around with a backpack and would, like, sit in places and just observe humanity. I came to the UK, and you know, a whole bunch of random stuff, good, bad, right, wrong, went down. And then eventually, when I had my Saturn return, I kind of got on the yogic journey. I'd been doing yoga on and off since I was about 13 years old. So then as I kind of got toward the Saturn return, I started practicing yoga every single day. And I'm Capricorn rising, so I naturally have like a discipline and a work ethic. And I just started practicing yoga every single day. And then people started to ask me to teach. And then I started teaching. And then I went to India. And then eventually the career kind of took off. And I think because I'd had such like profound darkness and like, what do you want from me, universe? Like, what am I doing here? Please show me the way so I can be a positive impact on the planet. Like, the yoga kind of led me into a more balanced state, and then I got into kind of law of attraction teachings and stuff, and then I took a leap with my online career and with All to Love, and boy, oh boy, it was like, it's been super turbulent, and in many ways I'm still just healing from like massive burnout after a complete financial collapse, after near homelessness for many years, and kind of just like, and so I continued to practice and teach yoga, but I transferred that discipline into sharing authentically online and sharing vulnerably and expressing my truth and talking about alchemical healing and talking about the profundity of our emotionality and how it's really endeavoring deeper emotional processing, which is very much what I'm talking about, like feeling the emotions, like, but the body is like a prism. And when you feel deeper emotions, it cleanses and clears like certain patterns and structures. So things that once triggered you don't trigger you after I call it like an emotional storm. So usually we get triggered and people talk about triggers, but often what they miss is that if you trace the trigger. So you want to be able to, that's why meditation and yoga and breath work is super duper powerful, because it actually allows us to be more present with a trigger. So rather than just reacting against the trigger, we can hold space for self. And then I'll talk about the wave. So you hold space for a trigger, and if you have enough presence to hold space for the trigger then can become like a wave. And if you keep holding space for yourself, that wave, often is the case, will become like a deep, profound emotional storm where you're just like, yeah, meh. And then within the storming, though, in my awareness, see, one of my first like very, very clear storms, I was in Angkor Wat in Cambodia, and I was having legit like cosmic memory coming back as I'm like crying and moving through this like ancient site, and I had personal memories like just from my childhood, but then I had like these other almost like cosmic multi-dimensional clearings that were coming through, just like this very profound deep process. And again, after the storm, I wasn't getting certain triggers again. They just kind of vanished. And so that was like a big turning point, and then that's what led me to writing the book. So it's again my own just like intuitive interpretation of shadow work, but I didn't really have that language back then. Like I didn't know about Carl Jung and shadow work in that same way. I do now. I'm like, oh my god, that's like kind of what my book is about. But mine was just like kind of innocent, intuitive interpretation of how to raise your vibration. I wouldn't even use that language anymore. I sometimes think the book needs a re-edit, because it's kind of like, I was much more naive, and I have had huge falls since publishing the book and going online and having this phase where I was just so high on life. Like I published 4 online courses. I traveled the world. I went to Indonesia many times to do all this work. I completed the courses at the end of 2019. So they're all published and put out there. And then I started reading tarot in 2019. And like, and still processing or integrating and sort of digesting what happened to me and what I've lived. And there again, where I come into the here now, I'm like, this is part of it. And Yashwani talks about this, is like, we're the only ones who have to validate ourselves. And I think for a while I had like a blind spot with regards to my own family and my relationship to my family, which is quite small. Both my parents are adopted. I have one older sister, and I have beautiful nieces who live in Canada. But just last year, I had a huge House of Cards psychological break moment that led to like ending a relationship, that led to me having no contact with my mother, who I realize now I was enmeshed with, and there's like layers there. But yeah, I mean, like, and then it's still here now. I'm like, whoa, what's happening and what's happened? And, and now I'm broadcasting live on TikTok, and I only have like 600 followers, and I swear I thought that you had to have like 1,000 followers on TikTok to even be able to go live. So I'm kind of perplexed as to how I'm actually doing this right now, but I don't really care because it's fun. And that's something I am on YouTube. I do for years. I put my daily reads and I do stuff on what's it called? Instagram, and then through Instagram that goes through onto the Facebook. But like I don't align anymore. Like I am increasingly aware of having to be really discerning with all of our devices and all of the information that we're getting through these devices. And really through the authenticity and the slight, the TikTok's quite different than Instagram and Facebook. And so I'm sensing that it might be that I end up doing more of this live stuff and sharing and talking and just like, yeah, sharing from the heart on Hala TikTok, and probably distancing myself from Instagram and Facebook, mainly because of some of the kind of like geopolitical and just political alliances of some of these massive corporations that are essentially like trying to steal our data and control our minds. So I'm like, let's not have that happen. Let's reclaim our power. And that's something about love. It's all about love. Oh my God, look. So I'm here in Morocco. I'm teaching yoga 6 days a week at a surf school. And part of the deal is that they give me a place to stay and I help out with breakfast. But clearly and there's been no washing machine. Sorry, this is kind of gross, but like there's been no washing machine, so I'm moving. I'm getting my own apartment today. Yay! My sister, like, I'm so grateful. She actually like paid for me to get my own apartment just for my last 10 days. She's like, you deserve to have like a bit of a holiday alongside the working holiday. And now I'm just looking down and being like, shit, I definitely need to wash my clothes. My clothes are like gross. But I must say, like, having a filter, because in real life, I have a lot more, like, wrinkles, for one, and my face is not so, like, white and smooth. Like, I have sunspots. I normally would have much darker circles under my eyes. I have, like, hyperpigmentation, so I sometimes have, like, especially when I'm in the sun, I get, like, like, sunspots here. And I'm aware, too, like, that. So because this is like the first time I've done live, I'm like, I have no idea. I can see people like popping up and joining in, but I have no idea if people like hang out or if people stay here or like even like I don't really join into people's lives, or at least I get bored. But again, that's because I think social media has fried my brain. My attention span is shocking. And that was also another reason why I was like, oh my God, I have to like go somewhere sunny and warm where I can spend more time outside, because I live in the UK and winters can be long and gray. So I've gotten away, but plus I'm teaching every day. So like I'll get time with people. I'll get to teach a full hour because I work online with clients, yoga clients and tarot clients. So all my work is online, but that can become quite isolating. And like some days if I'm in a bit of a funky mood, like I'll just be like doom scrolling all the time. And it was only maybe like, I don't know, a year, maybe 2 years ago, I realized that I was watching a movie with somebody and I kept grabbing my phone. And then I've had obviously chats with people in my community and being like, oh my God, like I can barely hold my attention for more than like 10 or 20 minutes. And then even here, being here, everybody kind of agrees. And, like even just in the world, like our having these addictions are certainly connected to disconnection. But what I'm aware of is that it's not necessarily what we think. It's not like just about connecting with other people. It's having our bare feet on the ground and connecting to earth. It's her frequency that we're like truly in alignment with. So the fact that we've been like disconnected from earth and her cycles and the frequency of earth and being kind of shuffled into this economy, which to me is like the matrix, right? As in deny your connection to earth and just be a slave within the matrix. It's like, no, that's not it. Like we'll end up just being like zombies, right? And like a lot of people from this sort of like idea of like being awakened or whatever, like you can perceive that, like people all just like staring at their phones and like not being connected, not being able to see truth. But truth is something we feel, right? Like I'm somebody who believes in eternal life and believes that the spark, I call it the divine spark, right? Like that's what namaste means, right? Like namaste in yoga is legit just being like, we are all divine. And that divine spark within us all is the unifying force. So we are all connected through our divinity, through the light of our awareness, through just being consciously alive, like feeling and sensing, right? And it's that deeper eternal aspect, which is knowing. Like, I know I've had many, many experiences across the cosmos and interdimensionality and or intergalactic or whatever word you want to use. And yet there's a deep knowing of the eternity that we all exist within, right? And that, of course, is the backbone of love, and it's part of how we're able to harmonize and connect, and actually, as sad as it is, accept the polarity, accept the division. And I still alchemize a lot of the pain from these wars and displacement from people, but to a certain degree, to even be able to accept that, because I'm going to keep love as the highest kind of expression. In the idea that humanity will be moving into greater connection with Earth, because we've lost that, and it's through going as far away from that we then return home, and then returning home is really something we feel in our heart, Hey, do you want to see where I am? There's messages and stuff, but again, I'm new to holla TikTok. And definitely live. I'm like, am I definitely live right now? Because I swear I thought you had to have 1,000 people. Plus, I'm aware, like any of us these days, it's endeavoring to not have to live paycheck to paycheck would be a nice idea. I'm just somebody who has a lot of integrity, so I've never really been able to soul out or compromise my integrity for the idea of the big bucks. Plus, I don't think that's the ultimate way or truth. I think that we are the way. Our heart is the connection. So this is just we just had breakfast after La Yoga. But can you see the sea? We're in a place called Tagazout. And that's I don't know if you can see there's a little island that's called Desert Point. And then the next town is Tamrat. And then further down is Agadir. But yeah, we're sort of in desert land, but it's a pretty prime location and increasing tourism for what? Surf. I did my very first surf and yoga retreat here, but actually it was in Tamrat. I did my very first surf and yoga retreat in 2016. I'm just looking at some surfer boys. So 2016, nine years ago, I reconnected with one of the surf instructors on this trip, and I couldn't get over it. He's got a 2-year-old boy, beautiful surfer, local. He ended up marrying a French girl, so he splits his time between the French Alps and here. And when I made that connection then, I just what beautiful, beautiful energy some of the locals have. And then reconnecting, and it's kind of mind-blowing to me that it's been almost 10 years. But what's really interesting, because in 2016, when I hosted my first surf yoga retreat here, I had a premonitory dream. So around the time of my spiritual awakenings in 2003, no, my spiritual awakenings were about in 2001. Yep, in September 2001. Actually, just before the 9/11 thing happened, I had radical dreams that have stayed with me forever. One of the dreams, I call it the cosmic dream. One of those dreams came true in 2016 when I was in Morocco. As in, I got a download, and the moment I was like, oh my God, this is the dream. And then in 2016 was the year that I ended up taking a huge leap. I ended my relationship with the beautiful musician him and I started All to Love, basically. And then I ended up going to Bali to write my book. I established All to Love as a limited company, and I started posting online every day with the intention of being able to work online so I could travel and do all these things. And then I did a few more surf yoga retreats. I think I did another in 2016 or maybe 2 more in 2017. But then all these rugs got ripped out from under me. By the end of 2017, I think my mother got deported. my beautiful musician boy proper like left, but in a way that I wasn't expecting, and it like totally broke my heart. So I went into this like deep grief and heartbreak phase, but simultaneously I started to like it was really just intense and volatile. And then by the end of 2019, I ended up in Bristol, and then I was in Portugal, but I was really, really struggling financially to the point of near homelessness. And then I got evicted. And so essentially I was homeless. And then, thank God, some random person on the internet was like, "I'll have a room for you." And then the pandemic happened. And interestingly, when the pandemic happened, a whole bunch of my yoga clients wanted to work with me again online. And I was like, sweet. And I now have all of my work comes through my online yoga clients and my online tarot work. But I was having complete financial collapse. And then I was also having physical burnout, because during those like high vibratory creative phases, I was really ungrounded. And even though it was quite blissful and amazing, because I was like high on life and love, and I barely needed to sleep and eat, and in many ways felt amazing, I didn't have a home, I didn't have stable income. And so I crashed and burned like big time. And if I'm honest with you, that was 2020. And I have essentially been trying to rebuild and stabilize my life ever since. And it's only recently, since coming to Morocco, I'm finally, thank the Lord God Almighty, I'm finally sleeping through the night. I'm getting like 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night, even having like snoozles on the beaches. I don't force myself to do anything I don't want to do. I'm teaching yoga in a really like serene and blissful place. I can get in the sea, but even that sometimes, like I'm an A negative, I'm a rhesus negative A type, and I definitely somebody who like, I don't really do like high impact exercise. Even the cold water therapy, I have to be mindful that, you know how like there's all these like trends in the world of well-being, just that it's trends. And like my perception of like well-being is also probably maybe different from some people, as far as like I think we have to be really mindful of industrialization in any kind of like concept, and or like within a framework of our common humanity. And that remembering that like love and light and like spirituality, they're just words, and that in truth it's like you being like you connecting to yourself, and like thus the knowing of the self, and like just being who you are in that present moment, right? And I think that's where things like yoga, or like just feeling and sensing yourself enough to get to know what works for you is like the Hala Shazam. And then increasingly I saw somebody who was like, you know, the highest spiritual thing is just being truthful, just being honest. And I was like, whoa, it's true though. I'm like, we can talk and, you know, pretend to be that, or like, you know, drink all the green juice you want, or like cut out all the sugar and coffee if you want. But to me, it's like, well, or just be yourself. And I sometimes think the more you know yourself, the more you can claim your freedom, and the more you can claim the truth of your own knowing, which for me today is drinking coffee. I drink coffee every day. I'm an addict and have been since I was 18, but like that's me. Like I'm talking truth about like I'm dealt with addiction most of my life. I have been in recovery from alcohol since 2013. That was my last hangover, was on my 31st birthday. That's right, I'm 42. What? But I'm using a filter. Like I said, when these filters aren't on your face, I'm wrinklier and have dark spots and circles. And I mean, I wish I wasn't maybe as vain, but I am. I grew up in North America, in Canada, and I have a mother who focuses a lot on appearance, and I also grew up focusing on appearance, and I wish I didn't. But then also it's like we live in a world that kind of has that, but there's discernment around it. To a certain degree, I think we all want to feel good in who we are. I just don't think that the external actually matters, because I don't know about you guys, but like when I connect with people, everyone's so beautiful, right? Like truly, no matter the color of your skin, no matter the size of your body, no matter how much fat or how little fat or how smart or how little smart. It's like, you know, the little sparkle that you get. I, for some reason, am feeling emotional, but like, that's the spark of our life force. And that is like, that's the love. And that is the beauty. Like, that's the beauty and the eternal spark and the love that connects us all is that spark of life. And that's where and how I've never been able to understand violent acts. I went veggie when I was very little because I realized that eating meat meant that you had to kill the creatures, and I was like, oh my god, I can't stomach it. At the same time, I consider myself and my brand to propagate non-violence on all levels. So I'm me choosing to be vegan, or you know, I have eggs from time to time just for the protein side of it, but like I kind of see, especially with free range eggs, I don't actually see that as a violent act or doing harm. You're just taking those eggs from a chicken, where those eggs are just ovulation. They're not going to actually hatch any chicks. So it's like, and you don't have to, with free range eggs, you don't actually have to like harm the chickens. You're just, so, but I also understand death is part of life. I understand the cycle of life. I understand that we have had connection and sacred connection with the animals on this planet for aeons. And so I'm not here to judge meat eaters. And I do understand that death is part of life, and that for some people, constitutionally, they might need to eat meat. So I'm not here to like, you know, make people feel bad. At the same time, I think that like industry that just rears things for profit is deeply, darkly distorted. I think that I think the amount people talk about climate change, or is it true or is it not? Who fucking cares? We're clearly consuming too much because we're polluting our oceans to the point that we can't even get rid of the trash. We're sending our used clothes over to different places, or people don't want our used clothes. Can we not reuse them? And it's like all this vapid, materialistic, profit-driven gack is just destroying us and the planet. And come on, people, it makes no sense. Could we not just take a stop and take a break and enjoy who we are? Because when you truly feel connected, you don't need so much stuff. You know? You don't need so much stuff. That's the truth. I've made a commitment to myself this year to buy as little as possible. And even coming to Morocco to teach, I haven't even bought, actually that's not true, I bought not this, but I bought myself a local artisan mug, like, you know, handmade pottery. And I do believe I bought myself a little bikini as well. See, I'm not even doing that great. It's only February 1st, and but point is that even I have been buying only secondhand since 2012, since 2011. Pardon me. And I'm really into it. I'm really into like charity shopping and thrifting and all that kind of stuff. But even that, like, I realized, like, God, I'm getting rid of stuff and then buying new secondhand, like buying secondhand, but to me it's still new. And there was something in me that's like, just stop buying. Like, stop buying stuff, you know? And I was like, oh my God, because I started to notice this little habit where I would like, early in the morning, I'd be having my coffee and I'd get on the eBay. I'm sure that it was like just some retail therapy, because there was a couple times where like items would arrive and I'd be like, oh God, I forgot I even bought that. And it wasn't good. It wasn't a good purchase. So I'm thinking, I'm not shopping intuitively anymore. I'm like buying out of compulsion. I'm buying out of some like, yeah. And so my intention for this year is to shop less, be more. And I didn't even, this was a quick turnaround. So get this. My sister, she bought me a psychic reading. And I had the psychic reading January 3rd. And at one point during the psychic reading, the psychic was like, the beach, sea, tall ships. And I kind of interrupted her and said, oh yeah, I used to host surf yoga retreats. Morocco, Portugal, Indonesia. And she said, that's coming back round. She's like, this is your life now. You know, like some of the stuff from your past will come back round. I was like, okay, that's interesting. Oops, I just spat on my phone. Well, that's interesting. And then a week later, maybe even 6 days later, I book a gig in Morocco. And then by the 19th of January, I'm back in Morocco. I'm teaching yoga by the sea, like legit, you saw the view, right? Like I'm teaching yoga by the sea, and I'm like, oh my God, the psychic. She said this will come back round. And quite a few of my internet friends are like, MJ, have you gone surfing yet? I haven't. I've actually only dipped my head in the water once since I've been here. It's not bad, but I don't care. I'm just enjoying, like, luxuriating and resting, and, like, I've been having little sleepies on the beach. I've been getting a bit of a tan going, and it's the Hall of Shazam. And then I've got one of my besties from the UK is coming over on the 5th, which is Wednesday. And so my suspicion is that once she gets here, and then I'm into my final week. So in total, I will have been here for 3.5 weeks. I hope next winter I can stay for like maybe a month or two. And, yeah, so she's coming on Wednesday, and then she was also in attendance on my very first surf yoga retreat in 2016. So I'm like, fuck, amazing. This is so cool. So she's coming to stay at the surf school on the 5th. And again, my suspicion is that when she's here, I'm definitely going to go out. I'm definitely going to get out surfing with the crew, with the surf instructors and the people at the surf school, and have like maybe 3 or 4 days out at the beach surfing. No, I'm shit at surfing. I do the whitewash. It's scary to me. Like I get totally freaked out with those big waves. And I think because I use my body and I teach yoga for a living, there's like a real part in me that's like, oh, I don't want to injure myself. I don't want to die. You know, that may sound a bit extreme, but if anyone's ever surfed before, I mean, like, it's kind of an extreme sport, I'd say. So I do it lighthearted. I go out, surfboard. I'm fairly light, so I can use one of those big foamy boards and literally just catch the whitewash. So I'll go out and just like run onto my board and like step up, and I'm good. Like I can balance, and I can definitely like surf. I just like, very few times have I got like the green waves at the back. And one time in Indonesia, where was I? Canggu? Somewhere. Anyway. No, see, one time I think in Canggu I actually had a surf instructor take me out. But there was another time, and I do believe it was my first visit, so it would have been the summer or the time that I was writing my book, but I went out on my own. I hired a board, I went surfing. I think, thank God, there was like a random other tourist or like traveler out there with me, but it was the first time I just have felt bold enough, and I went out and I caught a bigger wave, and I got, like any surfers will know, I got pulled under and was like at the whim of the undercurrent. And I remember my my bathing suit bottoms were coming off. So as the wave was just like, you know, spinning you round underneath, I could feel my bathing suit bottoms were coming off. And so I like bound my feet together to stop because how embarrassing would that be? Like getting out the water without any fucking bathing suit bottoms. So thank God I managed to, just in the nick of time, pin my feet together so that my bathing suit trunks didn't just go flying off. And then eventually I popped up and I was able to take a breath. And first time I ever experienced also, like when that happens, I come out the water a little bit like, holy fuck, what was that? And like, now I know why surfers do like free diving courses and stuff, because first you want to be able to relax, even though like you're totally at the whim of nature. Relax, but then there's also a reality about like being able to hold your breath for like a few minutes potentially. Anywho, that was not nearly that, but I was probably under there for like a few seconds. But when you've never experienced it before, you're a bit freaking out. Plus, when you feel like your things are getting ripped off you're like, ah. And the funniest thing is that when you feel like your things are getting ripped off you're like, ah. And the funniest thing is that and other surfers are like, yeah, that's normal. And I'm like, where was it been? Where was it? In my face or in my sinuses? So interesting, right? Surfing. And that's part of the people ask, like, what's the connection between surfing and yoga? And like, I live in a part of the UK where there's like a lot of like hardcore surfers. There's some professional big wave surfers that live there. And it's just hand in hand. It's the mindfulness side, it's the balancing, there's the step through, there's the upward facing dog, or different back bendings. There's structural functional movement from the yogic practice that will cross over into things that benefit the surf. And even just like the unity, like endeavoring to be one with the water rather than like conquering it. And I find that to be a much more like peaceful, down to earth way, rather than that weird, again, like kind of superficially driven, keeping up with Joneses or anything like that. Like just to feel the water, love the water, like be at one with the water. I think the yoga helps us to feel that, but certainly like the step through, the balancing on the boards, all that kind of stuff. And again, like a lot of the pro or like really advanced surfers these days are practicing yoga, because yoga is one of those like foundational things to me that is like actually useful for everything in life. Especially in our really kind of frenetic, fast-paced, externally driven, productive oriented world. Like certainly for me personally, like yoga saved my life almost 20 years ago, because I was very much on a path of self-destruct. And like yoga saved my life, and it continues to inform me and survive me, like it's through my love and passion for yoga that people pay me to share that, and then I get to live in this economy, but from a place of integrity and love and compassion rather than like enslavement, right? And anyway, may peace be with us all, and also with you, MJ. Oh, thanks a lot. Oh, thanks, you guys. I've enjoyed the live. There's all these messages come through. Again, I'm brand new, and this is my very first ever live. I have no idea how it works or what's going to happen, if it will just disappear after, or I don't really know how to like stay here and check messages necessarily. I feel like it looks like there's like I can't tell if there's nobody here or if there's like 40 odd people here, but I can see like people joining. I don't know. But I don't know how it works as far as like how do I like see messages and also obvi, if you if you like my page, so I can do more of this and all that jazz. What about the comments? No, I don't know how to comment. Oh, sorry. Well, I'm not actually sorry, but like, thanks for being here. I'm not, this is my first time. I am not like a tech wizard in any way. I'm not really even sure. I'm gonna go soon. Just to basically go to the beach. Again, I'm moving to my apartment today, but I'm not going to get to check in until for another few hours. But I'm really curious about oh, I see. Okay. But yeah, how curious. I swear I've been plugging away on the TikTok to get to 1,000 followers to be able to go live. And initially, because I read tarot, I was going to just do live tarot readings. Live creators with a similar following. But I don't like, plus I'm one of these, I'm quite rogue, like I'll like just do it. I don't often like read the fine print or read, you know, the instructions. Which some of you, if you guys are like that, you know that like sometimes it works great, sometimes it totally backfires. So but thanks for joining. If anyone's still here, can you guys comment on your end? And like I can see messages, but I have no idea how to check them whilst I'm here with you. Oh look, see, I think there's been one person follow. What? Well, thanks for the follow. If you've enjoyed the vibratories, feel free to follow. I have a Tmall store. You can go to all to love, like ALLTO love.tmall.com. You can feel free to get one of these jazzy. There's a whole bunch. There's like tote bags, baseball caps. I'm just a kind of creative flower. As in, I just found that store. That store has been set up since maybe 2017, and I've just made t-shirts, tank tops, crop tops, all this stuff. And plus Tmall totally aligns with the brand, so it's all sustainably sourced. It's all, you can do returns. It's all 100% organic cotton. And again, like it's the stuff that we can create and share and buy that's not going to cost the earth, you know what I mean? Plus there's no plastic, so there's no synthetics, which there again, we want to move toward more of that like natural stuff, so we're not polluting the oceans and the planet with more plastic shit that just doesn't go away forever. This is where we're living in these like downturn recession times, but the downturn recession times is invoking and inspiring our personal creativity to make use of these things, because we are regenerative. Everything that seems like a problem, the power of creativity is going to be able to transform all of that into newness and fundamentally goodness for the next generations. We ourselves are going to have to be responsible for turning around the narrative, right? And not being fed into this world of fear and doom and gloom and doomsday. We ourselves are the ones that are the spark of hope and the spark of eternal life here. So, you know, any of these perceived problems, we can totally transform it with enough alchemy and enough kind of deep awareness. It's just living our lives, right? And not doing anything that compromises your integrity, which a lot of the world is set up to do that. So we forget who we are and just follow the rules. But the rules are not there to serve us. They're there to serve the people who wish to control us. So we can disenfranchise that and humble the controllers, basically. That's my perception in the here and now. That could change tomorrow. I don't know. Constantly changing. You know, that's one thing that all this spiritual work affirms is like, this reality is moving. We are moving constantly, and it's always a present moment choice that we can be here now and actually choose peace and love. And it does work, but also part of the joy and part of the love that I express is through the gates of hell. Pain, you know, feeling all the pain and like being able to love the pain and keep moving through and burning through those aspects of distortion and tension. So have a great day, you guys. I'll figure. Hi, look, somebody commented. Woo! Hello, Zuko Nation. What? That'll determine, right? Your net game. Oh, I don't even know what that is. Sorry. What's the net game? See, there's a lot of neck. I don't know. I don't know. I've only just seen these comments. My apologies. And I long time YouTuber. I've been broadcasting live on YouTube for a long time, and like I used to get triggered by people's comments or even perceived trolls, which at this point I'm not even sure are real people, or they're just bots that are trying to incite more chaos. Who knows, right? But I don't even know what that means, net game. But I'll say hi and goodbye, and I'll wish you all a beautiful day. Look after yourselves. You're amazing. I love you. Peace out.